Hi, everybody. Welcome to English 505, Graduate Rhetoric and Composition. I'm Dr. Marlon Harrison, but please feel free to call me Marlon. I have had the great pleasure of being with Tiffin for 10 years now as an instructor, so I am very excited to use this video to give you an overview of what are the major assignments in this course, where do they fall in this course, and then how will you and I work together as instructor and student? And what are the most important things you need to know in order to be successful in this class with me? So let's get started. Here we are in week one, and there are two reasons why you are enrolled in English 505. English 505 goes hand in hand with 525, our research writing, and 526, critical thinking, and the three of them together work as a refresher for our students on the basics of research and academic writing and argumentation. Additionally, with your master's degree, you will be able to teach college level courses. The most hired adjunct college level course in the United States is college composition and rhetoric. So, accreditation requirements state that in order for you to teach a class at the college level, you have to have taken that class in your graduate studies and it must appear on your transcript. So this is one of the classes that is going to give you the credentials to teach college level writing in the future, online or in person, and make your degree make money for you. But feel free to reach out and we can talk further about that. Let's look at the major deliverables and some of the most important things in working with me. At the bottom of each module page, we can see what the major assignment for that week is. So in week one, you are simply reflecting on your own writing process. In week two, you're going to be looking at a data set and commenting on that data set. It's an exercise. It's learning specific approaches to communication at the graduate level. I realize some of you are thinking, I don't work with data sets, but you might, and you might need to teach it to others. So this is just a great activity for getting some exercise and looking at a graph or a chart. Also, we want you to have some comfort and some experience summarizing an academic article, which may look a little different from a web news article. So in week two, we're commenting on data, summarizing an article. In week three, we're going to give you some options. We put together some data packets in various topics because we know that many of you are in various disciplines in your degree. And so you're going to use those packets and you're going to start to develop knowledge around that topic, and you will create a thesis statement and a tentative outline for a paper. But surprise, surprise, in week 7, you need to write that paper, the research paper. Or at least it's due in week 7, you'll start earlier. So very useful to come up with your initial thesis statement and outline. We're also asking you for a brief reflection on what you've been thinking so far about academic writing and what we've been showing you. In week 4, we will practice rhetorical analysis, where you will summarize an article, not for its content, but how the author wrote the article. Who did they imagine their audience was? How did they effectively or not effectively corroborate their ideas or illustrate their ideas, for example? So you're going to do a rhetorical analysis. The following week, week 5, you're going to write a learning philosophy. So this is helpful because if you start teaching, or if you are already teaching, you'll need a teaching philosophy where you explain some of the theories and methods that inform what you do in a classroom. Doing a learning philosophy from the student perspective is the perfect first step to thinking about what is a philosophy, what do I put in it, how do I utilize my experiences, so that when you are called upon to do a teaching philosophy, you will have a good background and some knowledge of where you're heading. In week 6, I think this is the most exciting part of the whole class, you guys. You get to design a lesson plan for like a dream college writing class. And then we'll ask you for another reflection, again, looking back from weeks 4, 5, and 6, what you've been thinking about, what you've been learning, so that by the time we get to week 7, you have got your research paper. Now, Let's go back to week 1, and I'm going to click into our very first activity. And I want you to notice a couple of things. I'm there, your instructor's here in the discussions, and I'm going to repost all the important announcements in these discussions. So, for example, you have a required announcement here in week 1 that's pinned. It's this video that you're watching now, which also includes the late policy, information about APA and MLA, and plagiarism. Likewise, if you haven't created a user avatar, here's where you will do so. But what I really wanted to show you is this. Hold on one second, let me click on over. Now, 1.2 is our first real academic official discussion forum. And I want you to pay attention to what I am doing here as an instructor for you, the student. And I also want you to think a little bit about if you were the instructor and you had a class of college writing students and it was online using a discussion forum, what are some of the ways you might help your students learn? What are some of the ways you might scaffold or support what they're doing in the classroom? So one of the ways I do this, like I said, is by reposting announcements, because I know you guys don't read announcements often. And they're here. And these announcements pinned here can also be discussions. You can ask questions, you can leave comments here, right in the discussion for the announcements. So I hope it's a way that we can have different types of conversations than just the one that's the topic of our discussion forum. And I hope it's a place where you can feel comfortable responding to some of the things I'm suggesting. Something that is important. Use 2 or more cited sources of evidence in your discussions. Folks, listen to this. I think graduate students should use evidence in their writing. Okay? That's my first example. Now let's listen to the second example. According to Smith and Nakamura, 1985, graduate students who utilize evidence in their academic writing for classwork typically do better on their written assignments than their peers due to the experience of citing, paraphrasing, quoting, and creating final references. The first sentence was my opinion. The second sentence was utilizing evidence in a way that backs up my opinion. In many of your discussion posts, you're not going to see a requirement that says, oh, by the way, remember, use 2 or more sources of cited evidence. You're a graduate student. You are expected to utilize evidence in all of your communications because your opinion is not enough. So therefore, you will be using MLA or APA, pick one, use it consistently, but I will give you an announcement each week with templates, examples, resources, and video how-to. So there is no excuse for getting this wrong in this class. And very importantly, in the discussions, many times I will give you an example of what we're expecting. So here's an example of what we might expect in an MLA formatted discussion post. You'll notice that the individual went a step further and included some kind of visual media. You might use audio media as well. And of course, all media, all intellectual property is cited. This individual is using MLA because we see works cited. We see the in-text citations throughout. We see the in-text citations directly correspond with the final work cited. Now, this is the same post, but this is an APA formatted example. So again, this is all the same, but look at the difference in the citations, right? Look at the difference in the citations here. And then at the bottom, we have references, not works cited. So this is an example of what your week 1.2 discussion post might look like. And folks, I'm going to do this for you as often as possible throughout this course, give you examples. So that means if you have any questions, you should feel free to reach out to me. In pretty much all of my announcements and discussion posts, you will be able to see, let me just move this. You will be able, I'm trying to go back a screen, but it won't let me because my record button is there. All right, never mind. Let's come over here. As I was saying, in my announcements, you will find that I give you my phone number and my email quite often, okay? So let's see. Here is the welcome announcement. At the bottom of the welcome announcement, you have got my phone number, so you can call me, you can text me, you can email me. My office hours are when it's convenient for you, so you can reach out to me and say, hey, I've got some time on Saturday morning to ask you some questions. Are you free? I'll be honest, sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not, but we'll find a convenient time. Also, very important, you need to review the plagiarism warning here in the welcome announcement. I do take this really seriously. And then there's some info on grading feedback that you need to review in terms of how I do grading feedback and what you can expect. Late policy, so important. Discussions cannot be made up. Once the date's gone, the discussion's gone. All other assignments can be made up so long as it was not a group activity or a partner activity. In that case, you do have a minor 10% penalty for submitting assignments up to 1 week late. After 1 week, you may not submit those assignments for points. If you have a verifiable legal or medical emergency, just simply reach out to me. We will communicate and come up with a plan for your success. I said 10 minutes. I'm at almost 12 minutes. Sorry about that. I hope this was helpful. The most important takeaways are you must read the announcements. You must check your email and look for emails. I gotta go check the door. That's everything I need to say. Thank you, everybody. I'm looking forward to working with you.